this is where he talked to me about a fast. And Judy and I had been talking about knowing that there's a deeper fast that God's just bringing in the earth, but really couldn't define it exactly, but knew that it was going beyond how we have fasted in the past. But he says, I'm creating a deeper fast. This is the fast that I require. It's not by human effort or by what you give up. It is by what I give to you. It is by my grace and supply, and it is by my riches. It has more to do with sowing than giving up things of your own free will. Yeah. So that took me into Isaiah chapter 58 and Zechariah 7 and 8. And if we want to look at, let's start at Zechariah chapter 7 then. So God supplies the seed. Like I said, this is just something, I think this is just going to be an ongoing development in our lives that God is taking us through. But if you look at, in Zechariah chapter 7 and in Isaiah chapter 58, you'll find that there were insincere fasts that were going on, and yet the Lord is saying, but this is the fast that I require. So, it's starting at the top of chapter 7, you know, it came to pass in the 4th year of King Darius, the word of the Lord came to Zechariah in the 4th day of the 9th month. And then they sent unto the house of God Sherezer and Regmelech, and men to pray before the Lord, and to speak unto the priests which were in the house of the Lord of hosts, and to the prophet, saying, should I weep in the 5th month, separating myself as I have done in these so many years? And the word of the Lord of hosts said, saying, speak unto the people of the land and to the priests, saying, when you fast and mourn in the 5th and 7th month, even those 70 years, did you at all fast unto me, even to me? And when you did eat and when you did drink, did not ye eat for yourselves and drink for yourselves? Should ye not hear the words which the Lord hath cried by the former prophets, when Jerusalem was inhabited in prosperity, and the cities thereof round about her, when men inhabited the south and the plain? And then verse 8 says, and the word of the Lord came to Zechariah, saying, thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, execute true judgment, and show mercy and compassion every man to his brother. And oppress not the widow, nor the fatherless, the stranger, nor the poor, and let none of you imagine evil against his brother in your heart. You know, again, Isaiah 58 really corresponds with what he's saying here. And in Zechariah 8, verse 16 and 17, he goes on to say, these are the things that ye shall do. Speak every man the truth to his neighbor. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. And let none of you imagine evil in your hearts against his neighbor. And love no false oath, for all these things are the things I hate, saith the Lord. And then he goes on. But in Isaiah 58, okay. Now, I don't want to stop. I want to go to, we're going to go to Isaiah 58 first, and then I'll probably come back to that. Because right now I'm looking at the things that need to be sown, and then we'll look at what the rewards are, what comes out of that sowing. So if you go to Isaiah 58, and these are the things that the Lord is requiring, starting at verse 6. Is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, and to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke? Verse 7, is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house? When thou seest the naked, and that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. Go down to verse 9. Then shalt thou call, and the Lord shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, here I am. If thou take away from the midst of thee the yoke, and the putting forth of the finger, and speaking vanity. And 10, and if thou draw out thy soul to the hungry, and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and thy darkness be as the noonday. Verse 13 says, and if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. So one of the corresponding chapters to me, as I read through this, was Matthew chapter 25, where the Lord says, verse 42 and 43, to feed the hungry and the thirsty, to take in the stranger, to clothe the naked, to visit the stranger and the prisoner. But if we look at Zechariah 8 again, now I'm going to go back. So these are the things that the Lord wants us to sow. But Zechariah 8, now let's look at the rewards. Well, let's look at what comes out of this sowing. Zechariah 8 and verse 12. For the seed shall be prosperous, the vine shall give her fruit, and the ground shall give her increase, and the heavens shall give her dew, and I will cause the remnant of this people to possess all of these things. Then I think verse 19 talks about the house of Judah, joy and gladness and cheerful feasts, and then he says also love truth and peace. Isaiah actually has more to say about what comes out of this type of fasting sowing. I think this is the deeper part of the fasted lifestyle that God's calling us to, and we need to grab hold of it. And Apostle Greg last night was talking about the sowing. Isaiah 58 in verse 8 says, then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily. Thy righteousness shall go before thee. The glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. Verse 9 talks about the Lord will answer your call. Verse 11, and the Lord shall guide thee continually and satisfy thy soul in drought and make fat thy bones, and thou shalt be like a watered garden and like a spring of water whose waters fail not. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places, and thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. And verse 14, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken it. That's where the Lord had me yesterday morning.